Hello, it's Randy Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Hey!
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randy Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Control of events at the White House?
I think to say that we're in control would be a substantial understatement. We have equal branches of government in this country. The judiciary is not supreme. There's no such thing as judicial supremacy. What the judges did, both at the ninth and at the district level, was to take power for themselves that belonged squarely in the hands of the President of the United States.
Stephen, the three judges say you're flat wrong.
No, the three judges made a broad, overreaching statement. This is an ideological disagreement between those who believe we should have borders and should have controls, and those who believe there should be no borders and no controls. This is a judicial usurpation of power. The end result of this, though, is that our opponents, the media, and the whole world will soon see, as we begin to take further actions, that the powers of the president to protect our country are very substantial and will not be questioned. And the bottom line is the president's powers in this area represent the apex of executive authority. We will have unquestioned military strength beyond anything anybody can imagine. We have a president who has done more in 3 weeks than most presidents have done in an entire administration. Saying that we stand with our ally, having the two men appear on camera worldwide to all of planet Earth, was a statement that will be understood very well by North Korea. I'm not going to make a comment on that. I don't have any information on it. I do want to say that Sean Spicer, as always, is 100% correct, and that what he said is true and important, and I agree with it.
So then you are making a comment on it.
I'm not going to make any new comment. It is a fact, and you will not deny it.
Oh, my God.
There are massive numbers of non-citizens in this country who are registered to vote. That is a scandal. We should stop the presses. That's the story we should be talking about. And I'm prepared to go on any show, anywhere, anytime, and repeat it and say the President of the United States is correct 100%.
That's a White House advisor, right?
Oh, my God. It's not even funny. Can't even.
Oh my God.
It
was so much worse.
It's much
than I ever
worse.
thought.
It's much worse.
Wow.
100% correct.
100% correct. It is a fact, and you will not deny it, a fact that was actually a lie. Right. And then again, he learned this, I guess, in autocracy for young politicals.
Okay, you told me not
hold
to
on a
say
second.
it.
Hold on. When he said
what
did he say about the power?
Powers of the president are very substantial.
And they shall not be questioned.
They will not be questioned.
They will not
This guy.
be questioned. That is no. They
Oh, my
are.
God.
They are questioned, my young little
lad
Miller. They will be questioned by the court. It's called judicial review. Alexander Hamilton and James Madison wrote about it in the Federalist Papers. It was enshrined in Madison's Constitution. Andrew Jackson, you go into your president's office, you know that one, and you look on the walls, and there are all these pictures of Andrew Jackson and books of Andrew. He talked about judicial independence. He talked about the importance of the judiciary. You really need to go back and read the Constitution. And seriously, the White House has got to stop embarrassing themselves by putting this guy out. You got tons of phone calls.
Worst?
I had people working me. Oh, wasn't Miller great? No, he was that is the worst performance of anybody. That made Susan Rice the Sunday after Benghazi look smooth. I mean, that was horrendous and an embarrassment. And when you have somebody saying it is a fact and you will not deny it, and then saying the president will not be questioned.
Wow.
Actually,
aren't we king?
If you actually read it, just to be clear about it, because it's in some ways worse, because what he says is the end result, this is the quote, the end result of this, meaning the challenge to the immigration order, though, is that our opponents, the media, and the whole world will soon see, as we begin to take further actions, that the powers of the president to protect our country are very substantial and will not be questioned. Which is an assertion beyond the president not being questioned.
I told you it was
of nearly unlimited executive branch authority to do whatever it wants.
Well, that is the talk of a dictator, not somebody who is president of the United States. And
wow. Everybody see that this morning? Nobody saw that this morning? You just saw that this afternoon from this morning. Oh my God, Stephen Miller. This is the new Kellyanne Conway. This is the new Sean Spicer. They rolled him out this weekend. They put him on all the talk shows except for CNN. You know, they wouldn't supply CNN with anybody from the White House this weekend. It's just so creepy, the decisions they're making. But they put this guy, Stephen Miller, out there. I think the most disgusting performance was the one on This Week, where he doubled down on Donald Trump's claims about voter fraud. Did you see that? I mean, I can't even explain to you. I can't even explain to you how bizarre this presidency is, how autocratic, how dictatorial, how megalomaniacal, how autocratic it is to put somebody out there who just yells at the Sunday talk show host, "The president is the king and he shall not be questioned. Everything we say is 100% true. It is not reviewable by any court." I mean, that is just so bizarre. I mean, was this guy, Stephen Miller, asked to go on the Sunday shows to make Donald Trump look normal by comparison? I don't even know why they picked him. I mean, you watch this guy and you say, dude, get a grip. Go attack Nordstrom's or something. It makes more sense than what you're saying. Jesus, he made Stephen Spicer look like some adorable, Wilford Brimley type character who just, is a crazy uncle and doesn't know what he's saying half the time. When you saw him, you only see him above the waist. I bet below the waist he's wearing jodhpurs and boots and a riding crop. This is so unbelievably Nazi. It is the most amazing thing. He comes off like some fawning fanboy for Trump, sucking up to Trump the way Trump sucks up to Putin. Do you know? And he says the power of the president is very substantial and they will not be questioned. If you said these things on behalf of Kim Jong-un would say, dude, pull it back a notch. This is pure insanity. It's pure insanity. I mean, I'm sitting there going, crap, am I going to have to go to a public square and sing patriotic songs about Donald Trump, sometime this week? Is that going to become mandatory too? It's so off the hook. It's so out of control. It's so bizarre. And then, you read about, we left off on Friday with Michael Flynn. There's turmoil at the White House. There's another thing that Stephen Miller wouldn't comment on. He said, that's a question for the president. That's a question for the king. We're not. And Donald Trump lied Friday. He got on an airplane with, Prime Minister Abe from Japan, got on an airplane, flew down here. By the way, our local news is full of stories about how people here are so super pissed. And so is the county of Palm Beach. We are really, really pissed because we have to pay for all this extra security every freaking time this man comes. This is his second freaking golf trip in 2 weeks, and we have to pay for it. Oh God, there's so much going on. But okay, so people are just like literally outraged. And then right after that story about what are we going to do about the costs of hosting him every damn weekend that he wants to, go on vacation. What are we going to do about that? I mean, the amount of money that we lay out for his security here in the county is not reimbursable. And so we're just taking it up the yin, right? But that's the least of it. I swear to God, that's the least of it. Then the next story on the local news last night, after the Grammys, Beyonce is unbelievable, man. That was just magical. And so was Adele, giving props to Beyonce because, she didn't expect to win song and album. She thought she'd get song and then Beyonce would get up and get album. But it didn't work out that way. So instead of having Kanye come up and accost somebody on the stage, Adele did it for herself. And she said Beyonce's album, Lemonade, was so important and so empowering and it's in her soul and this really belongs to you. Oh, it was a beautiful moment. And then the local news started. And all of a sudden this is sad, there's giant 2-foot swastikas spray painted on car doors in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood known to be a neighborhood where Holocaust survivors, elderly Holocaust survivors live, and their children live close by. And their children were on the TV last night saying, I cannot believe this is happening. This is not America. What is going on? What's with all this anti-Semitic stuff? That's just here locally. That's all the stuff that's going on here locally, just right here in my own freaking backyard. Okay, so that said, anyway, I got to say, this appearance by this new guy, Stephen Miller, and every time I would say, Stephanie, if this is your freaking brother from another mother, have a family powwow, sit him down and tell him, shut up. But I don't think they're related. Oh, this is just such. Listen to this.
President Trump again this week suggested in a meeting with senators that thousands of illegal voters were bused from Massachusetts to New Hampshire, and that's what caused his defeat in the state of New Hampshire, also the defeat of Senator Kelly Ayotte. That has provoked a response from a member of the Federal Election Commission, Ellen Weintraub, who says, I call upon the president to immediately share New Hampshire voter fraud evidence so that his allegations may be investigated promptly. Do you have that evidence?
I've actually, having worked before on a campaign in New Hampshire, I can tell you that this issue of busing voters into New Hampshire is widely known by anyone who's worked in New Hampshire politics. It's very real. It's very serious. This morning on this show is not the venue for me to lay out all the evidence, but I can tell you this. Voter fraud is a serious problem in this country. You have millions of people who are registered in 2 states or who are dead who are registered to vote, and you have 14% of non-citizens, according to academic research,
what academic
at a
research?
minimum, are registered to vote, which is an astonishing statistic.
You can't hold on a second. You just claimed again that there was illegal voting in New Hampshire, people bused in from the state of Massachusetts. Do you have evidence to back that up?
George, go to New Hampshire, talk to anybody who's worked in politics there for a long time. Everybody's aware of the problem in New Hampshire with respect to
I'm asking you as the White House senior hold on a second. I'm asking you as the White House senior policy advisor. The president made a statement saying he was the victim of voter fraud. People being bused from Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
The president was.
Do you have any evidence?
If this is an issue that interests you, then we can talk about it more in the future. And we now have our governance beginning to get stood up, but we have a Department of Justice and we have more officials. And the issue of voter fraud is something we're going to be looking at very seriously and very hard. But the reality is that we know for a fact you have massive numbers of non-citizens registered to vote in this country. Nobody disputes that. And many, many highly qualified people, like Chris Kobach, the Kansas Secretary of State, have looked deeply into this issue and have confirmed it to be true and have put together evidence. And I suggest you invite Chris Kobach onto your show, and he can walk you through some of the evidence of voter fraud in greater detail.
All right, just for the record, you have provided absolutely no evidence. The president has made a statement.
The White House has provided enormous evidence with respect to voter fraud, with respect to people being registered in more than one state, dead people voting, non-citizens being registered to vote. George, it is a fact, and you will not deny it, that there are massive numbers of non-citizens in this country who are registered to vote. That is a scandal. We should stop the presses, and as a country, we should be aghast about the fact that you have people who have no right to vote in this country, registered to vote, canceling out the franchise of lawful citizens of this country. That's the story we should be talking about, and I'm prepared to go on any show, anywhere, anytime, and repeat it and say the President of the United States is correct 100%.
Well, you just repeated that. You just made those declarations, but for the record, you have provided zero evidence that the President was the victim of massive voter fraud in New Hampshire. You have provided zero evidence.
Anyone who's worked in New Hampshire politics is familiar with that issue.
You have provided zero evidence that the President's claim that he would have won the popular if 3 to 5 million illegal immigrants hadn't voted. Zero evidence for either one of those claims.
Well, it's right.
Thanks a lot for joining us this morning.
Wow, man. And you will not question, and you will not. They just keep on putting these alt facts out there. I mean, none of this is true. None of it happened. Maybe there's 5 instances in this country of people who voted illegally and they've been arrested. I know there's somebody in Texas that voted twice who was arrested. There's somebody else in Texas that voted 5 times that wasn't eligible to vote. They've been arrested. There's no evidence that 3 to 5 million people illegally voted. And by the way, here's what you'd have to believe. New Hampshire elected themselves a Republican governor. They didn't vote for Kelly Ayotte and they didn't vote for Trump, but they did vote for a Republican governor. What the hell? What, they confused? They didn't understand? What is that? Oh, it's just so, I mean, you watch this stuff happen and you just think, oh my God, this is the shock doctrine. This is telling people that their reality isn't real and that the fantasy in Trump's head is. And I'm telling you, this whole weekend, I was sitting on Facebook arguing with people who stop calling me the C word, okay? That doesn't settle anything. You're a P word for putting a C word up there about a woman you don't even know. One guy called me a tranny. And if I was, what would be wrong with that? What would be wrong with that? I don't even understand why that would be wrong. If I was a tranny, I would say I definitely could help you look better. Right?
That's for sure.
And I look up these people, and they're like these little, slight, skinny, old, 70-something-year-old men with big, giant, fat wives. One of them actually put a picture of his fat wife breaking through a chair because she was too fat. Telling me. Anyway. So I try and engage them, and I ask them for their evidence. Oh, my God, they send you these articles from these, they're like websites where the IP address, because I go look, the IP address from one of the websites for his fake news was Panama. Another one was some guy in LA who is known to make money off of these fake news stories, and it says things like, you won't believe, all that stuff. It's just clickbait, and they think it's real news. They really do. And so you just think about these big lies that they're telling, and you realize, Jesus Christ, the lie is so huge. 3 to 5 million people voted illegally, or it's like there's a contest between Miller and Kellyanne to see who can guzzle the most Kool-Aid, but people start to believe it.
Clear for takeoff.
Randy Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandyRhodes.com.
Go to RandyRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.